You know, sometimes we get so used to certain people being around that we stop asking ourselves one simple question: do they actually make us feel good? After 70, your time, your energy, your peace, they matter more than ever. In this video, I want to gently walk you through 5 types of people I often suggest my senior clients to distance themselves from, for the sake of their health, happiness, and dignity. Let me start with something I see all the time: the chronic complainers. These are folks who, no matter what the weather's like or how kind life's been, will always find something wrong. And while it may seem harmless at first, being around constant negativity can weigh heavily on your emotional well-being, especially in later years when stress can hit your sleep, your blood pressure, even your immune system. You've got to be mindful of the kind of energy you're letting in. A woman I worked with, Linda, 75, from Arizona, told me she had a long-time neighbor she used to chat with every morning. That woman would complain about everything: the government, her family, her aches, even the birds being too loud. Linda said she didn't notice at first, but over time, she began to feel drained after those conversations. Her mood dropped. She stopped her daily walks, and she found herself feeling more tired than usual. Another client, Harold, 78, from Ohio, had a brother who called every day just to talk about how bad everything was. Harold, a usually upbeat guy, started losing sleep and feeling anxious until he finally realized the calls were doing more harm than good. That's when he came to me and said, "I love my brother, but I don't think I can carry his world on my shoulders anymore." And that was the start of a small but powerful shift. One of the simplest things I recommend is gently creating space. If someone in your life always brings the storm, it's okay to pull back a little. Maybe you shorten the calls or choose to meet less often. You don't need to cut them out. Just protect your peace. Try replacing those moments with something uplifting, like listening to music, calling someone who makes you smile, or even sitting outside with your coffee and some quiet. You don't have to carry other people's clouds just to feel useful or polite. You deserve light. You deserve conversations that lift you up, not pull you down. And the moment you give yourself that permission, even just a little, it starts to get easier. Now let's talk about a different kind of drain: the people who put you down or make you feel small. It doesn't always sound like yelling or insults. Sometimes it's subtle. A joke about your memory, a sigh when you move too slow, or a comment that makes you feel like a burden. The older we get, the more sensitive we become to how people treat us, not because we're fragile, but because we've lived long enough to know what respect should feel like. And no matter how old you are, no one deserves to feel dismissed. I remember a man named Robert, 82, from Michigan. He'd tell me about his daughter, who would tease him every time he forgot something. "You're losing it, Dad," she'd say with a laugh. At first he brushed it off, but eventually he stopped speaking up in family conversations. He said he felt invisible, like his words didn't matter. Another story that stuck with me is from Jean, 74, from North Carolina. Her neighbor would often correct her when she spoke. "No, that's not how it happened," or "You're confused again." Jean started to doubt herself. She said, "Maybe I am too old to follow things." But when we talked through it, she realized the problem wasn't her. It was that constant stream of doubt coming from someone she thought was a friend. What often helps is being honest but calm. Let the person know their words are hurtful, not in anger, but from your heart. And if that doesn't change things, you have every right to limit how often you're around them. You can choose spaces where you're seen, heard, and valued. Maybe a book club, a church group, or just time with people who make you laugh and let you be yourself. You are not too old to deserve kindness. You are not too forgetful to be listened to. Like a tall tree that's weathered decades of storms, you've earned your place. And anyone who can't see that, maybe they're not meant to walk beside you right now. Another kind of person I gently warn my older clients about is the one who takes advantage of your kindness. You know the type. Always needing something, always asking for favors, always leaning on you, but never really giving anything back. And the hard part is, it often comes from people we love, grown children, neighbors, even old friends. But here's the truth: giving beyond your limits isn't generosity, it's self-neglect. And in your later years, your time, energy, and resources should go toward things that nourish you, not drain you. One man who comes to mind is Jerry, 79, from Florida. He had a son in his 40s who hadn't held a job in years. Jerry was paying part of his rent, watching his kids, even loaning money from his fixed income. He told me, "I just want to help him get on his feet." But 5 years went by and nothing changed, except Jerry's health. He was skipping doctor visits to save money and stressing over bills that weren't even his. Another client, Rose, 81, from Oregon, was always babysitting for her daughter's 3 kids. It started once a week, then turned into almost every day. Rose loved her grandkids, but she was exhausted. Her back ached, her sleep suffered, and yet she felt guilty saying no. When I asked, "When's the last time you had a full day just for you?" she couldn't remember. What helps in situations like this is learning to set gentle boundaries. You don't have to be harsh, just clear. You can say, "I love you, but I need to take care of myself too." It might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's one of the kindest things you can do, for them and for you. Being firm isn't being selfish. It's being honest about what you can and can't give. You've spent a lifetime taking care of others. Now it's your turn to be cared for, starting with how you treat yourself. Think of it like watering your own garden before sharing with the neighbors. A well-tended life is a life that grows with grace. There's another kind of presence that can quietly wear you down. The people who constantly feed you fear. They may not mean harm, but they bring you story after story about crime, disease, disasters, or conspiracies. And over time, their words settle into your thoughts like heavy fog. After 70, your nervous system is more sensitive to stress, and that constant worry can raise your blood pressure, disturb your sleep, and even weaken your immune response. The mind, just like the body, needs peace to stay well. I once worked with a woman named Carol, 77, from Pennsylvania. Her best friend would call every morning and talk about everything terrible she'd heard on the news. Shootings, scams, food recalls, you name it. Carol started checking her doors 5 times before bed and refused to go out after 4 p.m. "I'm scared all the time," she told me. Another client, Daryl, 80, from Texas, had a neighbor who'd knock on his door to warn him about what's coming. He stopped going to his men's group because he said, "What's the point if everything's going to fall apart?" That broke my heart. He wasn't depressed. He was overwhelmed by someone else's panic. One thing I often suggest is to gently shift the focus. If someone brings up a fear-filled topic, try responding with something calm, like, "That's a lot to take in. I've been trying to focus on things that lift my mood lately." Then pivot the conversation. And if they don't follow your lead, it's okay to step away. Fill that space with things that comfort you. Soft music, a familiar movie, a puzzle, a walk. Let your mind breathe. You don't need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Not now, not ever. There is strength in choosing calm over chaos. Like still water that reflects the sky, your peace is something worth protecting. And it starts with saying no to fear that isn't yours to hold. Now let me talk about something that often goes unnoticed. People who make you feel guilty. Guilt can sneak in quietly through little comments or heavy silences. Maybe it's a child saying you weren't around enough, or a friend who hints you've changed, or someone who brings up the past again and again. And as we age, that guilt can sit deeper, becoming a weight we carry quietly, one that pulls on the heart, stirs up regret, and makes it harder to enjoy the present. But guilt, especially when it's served by others, isn't something you're meant to live under. I'll never forget James, 83, from Illinois. His daughter often reminded him how much she had to sacrifice growing up, saying things like, "If you'd been around more, maybe I wouldn't have struggled so much." James felt terrible. He started sending her money he couldn't afford, hoping it would fix something, but it didn't. It just made him feel smaller. Another story comes from Arlene, 76, in Nevada. Her sister often said, "You didn't help enough when Mom was sick," even though Arlene had done her best while battling her own health issues. Arlene told me, "It's like I'm always trying to prove I'm good enough." That constant feeling of falling short left her tired and withdrawn. What I often encourage is to pause and ask, is this guilt helping me grow or just keeping me stuck? If it's the latter, then it's time to let go. Talk to someone you trust, maybe a counselor, maybe a spiritual guide. Write a letter you never send. Say the truth to yourself. I did what I could with what I had at the time. Forgiving yourself is not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't owe anyone a lifetime of guilt. You owe yourself peace, like setting down a heavy coat on a warm day. Releasing guilt lets your heart breathe again, and in that lightness there's room for joy, rest, and all the good still ahead. I hope these thoughts gave you a little clarity, and maybe even some peace. If something here resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. You're not alone in this. You're stronger than you think. And life, it still has so much to offer when you choose to walk it with care, courage, and kindness toward yourself.